So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. We don't have a big crowd today, but we are recording, so we're going to speak to the folks on the recording as if they were here. I'm going to be super brief, just introduce you to why we are here before I turn things over to the main events multiple. So, who am I? I'm Bonnie Becker, Associate Vice Chancellor for Student Success. Why are we here? So, Libby and Emma invited Darcy and I to Evergreen this summer to participate in the Washington Center to Improve Undergraduate Education to discuss the future of teaching at UW-T. So we started a long discussion about teaching development, pedagogy development, the needs on this campus, and we decided that this was going to be sort of a year or more project to sort of develop, but we wanted to start with gratitude. We wanted to start with a celebration. The last couple of years have been challenging, to say the least, for the world, let alone for us. And so we wanted to start today with cupcakes and coffee, but also give a little bit of an opportunity to hear about all the cool things that are happening on campus. So we're going to be doing a bunch of events throughout the year. Hopefully we'll just keep switching up times and different people will be able to come. And hopefully more of you will be inspired to collaborate with us and present some of the cool stuff you've been doing over the past couple of years, because I feel like nobody knows what each other is doing right now. So, just a couple of quick things. There's a sign-in. I might be able to remember everyone who was here, but please do sign in. We are being recorded, just so you know. And before I turn things over to Andy, we have one quick announcement from Utah.
We do, yes.
Yes. And then I will turn it over to Andy, then Darcy, then Rebecca, then Dwayne, and then closing.
Okay. So, hi everybody. I'm Utah Heller, a teaching professor in IAS Science and Math. I am here to tell you about Teaching Squares. You may have ignored a couple of emails that I sent out in late September, early October, what is it now? You know, I don't know, November, I guess, by the looks of it. But it's an opportunity for everybody to, all of you are invited, everybody on campus from all units, all faculty, part-time, full-time, whatever you do. You are welcome to join us in a program called Teaching Squares, where we visit each other's classrooms, and we use that as an opportunity to improve our own pedagogy, reflect on our own pedagogy, what we do in the classroom, and take back things to our own classroom, and then have a conversation about it. It is absolutely informal, it is non-evaluative, and it is just a way to have a conversation with each other about the and the great stuff that we do in the classroom. So if you're interested, dig back through your emails and find the one from me about Teaching Squares. That's probably the easiest way to announce it at this point. But we do have a Canvas page. It's all linked in that email. So I think from this position, my best advice is to go back and find that email, or email me, jheller3@uw.edu. Thanks.
So with that, not to be super formal, I'd like to invite up our new EVCAA, Andy Harris, to welcome us here today.
I'd like to say I have carefully crafted comments that are suitable for being recorded, but I don't. So any of you watching this here today who are not in the room, you'll get a little different taste of my wit and cleverness today than on other days when I am more prepared. I'm here to acknowledge the challenges of the last couple of years. It has been a wild time for people who are teaching, for people who support people who are teaching, for people who support students who are working in different learning modalities. And I can't tell you, I know the room is small. I have been at the ground floor of lots of events that start small. And I am completely comfortable with the idea that you start from where you are and you build from there. Faculty development is one of those places in which the driving forces of universities often start. They start with faculty development. They start with people who are working directly with each other to create communities that support each other as effective teachers, and not just effective teachers, but as wonderful teachers, as inspiring teachers. Most of us did not come to work in universities because we wanted teaching to be bad. because we wanted students to have an average mediocre time learning and then collect their degree on the way out. We got here because we were inspired. And so if you're here, if there are, 10 people, 12 people in the room right now who are willing to be inspired in each other's company, we will look back on this a year from now when we have 24 people or 36 people or 50 people, because this is one of the places where community is built. So thank you. You can tell if I'd written my comments, they would have been shorter. Thank you. I look forward to it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Darcy Jansen. I'm the Director of Digital Learning on campus. Welcome, everyone, here today. It has definitely been a challenging event with the pandemic. What I would like to say with that is that this is also an opportunity to reflect on where we've been and where we're going to go moving forward. And a lot of the work that the Office of Digital Learning is doing right now involves a lot of tri-campus work. And so I just wanted to give you a brief kind of overview of where we are with that. And some of the happenings across the campuses to really kind of consolidate and collaborate with digital learning and teaching excellence across the campuses. So the first one is the Digital Learning Alliance. I am part of that alliance along with some representatives from the UW-Tacoma. It was really put together by the Vice Provost of Academic and Student Affairs in Seattle. Coming off the pandemic, it is an advisory council essentially responsible for carrying forward the important work of tri-campus coordination, collaboration, and strategic synergy around the evidence-based digital learning and teaching practices at UW. We're charged essentially with looking at ways to leverage resources across the three campuses. Coming off the pandemic, it was really evident that we were really duplicating efforts between Bothell, Tacoma, and Seattle, that we could best move forward as a unit and as a collaborative effort to allow our units locally to really focus on more deep faculty development opportunities while really making an effort to get a Teaching at University of Washington hub for all faculty across the campuses. So some of the work that the DLA did last year was the course mode definitions. I'm sure you're all familiar with those. Tacoma was actually really aligned to go with that pilot early. Seattle and Bothell have not piloted those yet. We are actually piloting those in the winter quarter with those campuses. But we are gathering feedback on those modes. Currently they are set, but we offer, as Executive Council has charged schools to come up with their DL policies on our campus to really look at those modes. And if you have feedback, if they don't meet the needs of your curriculum of your schools, then provide feedback back to the DLA, and we will gather all of that moving forward. The modes are actually being integrated into my plan for students. The purpose of those modes is essentially to let students know where they need to be when, because their schedules are as busy as our schedules. And when they're planning out their academic journey here at UW-Tacoma, they need to take into consideration things outside of academia. So that's one thing. The other thing is the teaching evaluation rubric for hybrid and online teaching. So that is essentially what is going to be the framework of our passport, which you'll see in just a second. Chris will kind of debut that. That work is, we established the rubric last year. This year, the DLA is going to be looking at building out that rubric with guidelines, with support documentation, with examples, so faculty who are doing peer or self-evaluation of their courses can actually know what to look for. What does it mean to have alignment with course outcomes? What does it mean to have excellent engagement with students across those modes? So that's what we're working on with that as well. The other thing is that iTech Fellows is now renamed. We shared the name with Seattle, and they had a longer history with the name, so we had to change it. It's essentially just hybrid and teaching certification now, nothing fancy. I guess the acronym would be HOT, which is okay.
That was one of the tamer ones.
It was one of the tamer ones. We decided not to go the acronym route. But Teaching 101, we have pathways now to certification, and Teaching 101 was developed by Bothell. It is now actually a tri-campus effort. We have representation, I think 7 instructional designers and folks from the 3 campuses leading faculty through those courses. Building on that, we're looking at developing a 201, coming out with a launch in spring quarter. That is exclusively going to be on engagement in the classroom. And then we're also looking at more mastery series levels of faculty development, so faculty can actually elevate their teaching in areas that they're most concerned about right now. In addition to that, the feedback we received is that people attend these workshops and that they leave them not really knowing how to apply them to their own discipline or their own classrooms. And we recognize that. And so we, Chris and I, and the DLA, and all of our colleagues at the other campuses would really like to hear from you. If you have groups of faculty within your, your chair wants to get groups of faculty in STEM or in writing or in other areas, please reach out to us, because we can do individualized faculty development for those areas and really pull faculty from other areas on the other campuses to get together and collaborate and discuss and come up with solutions and strategies to try and implement class. Teaching is an iterative process. You're never where you want to be. And so we really want you to reflect on areas that are of concern for you where you think you can do better. So we can help out there. The other big thing is the teaching at University of Washington. So Seattle has the Center for Teaching and Learning. It is now going to be shifted over to a teaching hub called Teaching at UW. So we technically have the Center for Teaching and Learning, which is more geared towards student support and a little towards faculty support. We're actually going to have this hub be a tri-campus effort to put all of our resources forward to develop and offer support to faculty across all disciplines for teaching excellence at UW. This is also concurrently going on with the Provost's Future of Teaching and Learning at UW. The Provost got together a group of folks over the summer to really look and analyze where University of Washington is going post-pandemic. How can we leverage what we've learned over this last 3 years, and how do we meet the needs moving forward for flexible learning environments while still maintaining quality education? So the two priorities moving forward for the Provost that he will be actually working with the campus community on getting subgroups together to look at these more deeply is access and quality. And so our passport is basically focusing on that quality piece. And it is basically framed around those rubric foundational principles that are evidence-based and proven to increase student success in teaching hybrid and online. So I'm going to invite Chris to come up and walk us through the passport. This is a soft launch, so to speak, meaning that it's a very manual process currently to track stamps and do all of those. So this is going to be a partnership with other folks on campus, whether it be student advocacy and support, whether it be DRS, whether it be the TLC. Our plan for this is to really collaborate with folks across campus who are expert in certain areas and elevate these faculty development opportunities so that faculty can get their needs met and we can forward student success. So I'll let Chris do.
Just need to get to the website.
Yeah.
Question?
Sure.
Oh, wait.
Question.
Wait.
Yes. Question?
Hello. Thanks. Hi, Darcy. This is Scott speaking.
Hello.
I just wanted to ask about the teaching hub. Will that only then be, if it's shared between the 3 campuses, will it only physically be located on Seattle and then we have digital access? Or will there be like a branch here on Tacoma's campus that we can physically go to?
Yeah, so it's not going to be like an encyclopedia kind of categorized site. We want it to be something that is actually going to allow us to build partnerships with faculty. So it may be that you're interested in engagement, you can go there and get strategies, but we're going to provide opportunities for you to engage in workshops, put the programming around those areas, and then you will have local support. So it's going to be representative of all 3 campuses. So it's not that everyone at Tacoma has to go to UW for this, not at all. So what we're actually doing is just kind of collaborating on everything we were working at in silos on the different campuses, putting that all together and then freeing us up, the smaller teams on the campuses, to actually work more independently with faculty and not have to worry about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Any other questions? No? Yuta?
Hi, everybody. This is Yuta. On that note, I wanted to just send a note of appreciation. I think you forwarded a number of seminars that are happening, online webinars and stuff that are happening through the CTL in Seattle. So I wanted to thank you for bringing them, into our email boxes at the top there.
Yeah.
And then just those are helpful always, and they're remote, so that's super easy to do.
Right, yeah. And we are participating in a lot of those as well, so you will have Tacoma representation in those activities and experiences that you take on while you're going through those. So, Chris?
All right.
I'd like to introduce Chris. This is Chris Lott. Many of you met him during COVID on Zoom, so you probably just know this much of Chris. This is
Which
Chris.
is my best part. I think.
He's our digital designer, and he's been instrumental in getting us through this time, and he's fantastic. So I will hand it over to you, and you can take it over.
All right.
Thanks.
So first, I want to welcome all the viewers from the future with your hover cars and your post-pandemic times. I'm sure it's going to be wonderful when you're watching this video. Yeah, as Darcy said, one of the challenges, so I started my job literally the day before campus shut down for COVID. I had not been to my office for 18 months. I didn't know my phone number. I still don't know how to check my voicemail, so don't leave messages for me. But one of the challenges, of course, was COVID fatigue, everybody being forced to teach online at the same time. So we've spent a couple of years essentially trying to keep our heads just above water and help everybody here teach as well as they can in the forced circumstances. Now that that's changed, we're looking at how we can promote more proactive faculty development in collaboration with the other campuses. And as Darcy was saying, part of the real value of that is if you attend TTFI in Seattle or you take a workshop from Bothell or you do something with us, we're all focused on sharing the same kind of learning objectives and structure and technologies and pedagogical approaches. One of the things we were looking at now then as we get to this more proactive mode is how to share our faculty development efforts. Again, there's only a team of 2, and I like to think we're both, can do the work of 5, but we're still just really 2 people. And how we can share our schedule and menu and plan something out in a way that's useful to faculty, not just to take a look at, but also to create something to show that they've mastered some tool, technology, pedagogical approach. Ideally, the fusion of all of those into a demonstrable way that they can bring into their classes. So that is where the passport idea comes from. So we had a number of faculty who talked about wanting to be able to show that they've learned something. Badging is, a thing that people use, and so we decided to adopt this idea of a passport. And the passport allows you to travel to destinations, and those destinations are topics. So you can see it here on our front page. I'm going to go ahead and go into the passport. So in the passport, as Darcy, this mouse scrolls the opposite way I'm used to. Okay. The passport is broken down into areas, I guess we could call them countries or whatever, communities that are based around that tri-campus rubric. So everything fits into the way that we are looking at classes if you work with us or if you're becoming a hot faculty, I guess, a former iTech Fellows faculty, you're going to have your classes are going to use the same lens. So everything fits into here as well as the actual program itself. The hybrid and online teaching certification, so the HOTC. So when you come to the passport page, you can choose from these different areas, and within these areas, say course orientation and structure, you have the opportunity to travel to some of these destinations. So in this case, talks about what this means. What does course orientation and structure mean? How is that going to be approached in your course in general? And then we have these destinations. Now, of course, we're just starting, so we have 3 or going on 4 destinations with 5 categories, so some of these are still empty. But for instance, if you're interested in organizing assignments, weighting grades in Canvas, this is what is a standard teaching tip. I do these bi-weekly. And so if you follow this, you can take a look at the individual stamp that you can earn. Within that stamp, you've got the objectives for yourself, the curriculum you can go through in this case, because it's an asynchronous kind of written curriculum. This takes you through how to organize assignments and weight grades in Canvas. So that's fine. And you can come and you could see me do this live if I were offering it live. But the stamp part is how you earn the stamp. And you earn the stamp through creating something, whether it's in a course or somewhere else. It depends on the stamp. And also sharing reflection activities and thinking about how it applies to your class or not, benefits and drawbacks. So everything has something that's achievable and demonstrably useful potentially in a course. And that's where we're going to work also with people like Rebecca, with libraries, with DEI, to have stamps in those areas. But again, all with some kind of thing that you do, because that's our focus. So for us, in addition to having a predictable menu, the real value here is that it's an entree to conversation. Because frankly, most of us don't care that much about how Canvas gradebook is set up technologically. We have to do it, and it's good to know how to group assignments. But this leads to the conversation about what are you assessing and why? And how do your objectives connect to your course objectives? Do you have alignment in your course? Why are you using grades at all? What about ungrading? What about processing contract grades? So this stamp is an entree to that conversation, and then the long term, a relationship as you implement this in the course, wherever you might be doing that. The passport itself, the front page here, is you'll be able to see if I go back. I need to learn to scroll this direction. If it works, there we go. On the main Passport page, you can see upcoming, and I left this one here from yesterday so you can kind of see the idea and how it works. So you can see upcoming opportunities. Some of these are like the one you just saw around, which is an asynchronous activity, an asynchronous curriculum. Some of these are live where I'm presenting, and if people show up, like this is great. Otherwise, I talk to the invisible people in their hover cars, and then we record that and we make that part of the curriculum. And I've done 3 of these so far, actually 4, I guess. 5th is next week in facilitating and engaging online discussions. I highly suggest you attend because 1, it's going to be awesome, but 2, it's also a really important topic right now with online hybrid and fully online learning, is how do you actually have conversation discussion? What does discussion actually look like? So as a preview, maybe it doesn't look like a discussion board at all. So maybe we can look at some alternatives there. And then as people actually achieve and get the stamps, right now we're just putting them right here. So I am the champion right now. Darcy is hopefully playing some catch up. But ultimately, I had Dr. Seuss and Dr. Doolittle and stuff on here, but we went with some real people. But this is where you can kind of get to see what did they do and what have they seen and what other faculty, and you can connect with other faculty potentially here. It's something you can share with the outside over some mastery of something, which I think is very useful. That's the idea behind the badges and stamps. And again, this may be moving, will hopefully be moving to another system. Because right now, as you might imagine, maintaining this manual structure with all of this interlinking is a little complicated and takes up more time than it should. So we're looking at how we can integrate this with open badge standards, which are shared across institutions, potentially with a badging stamp system that kind of automates all of this. And to my mind, actually kind of important. I don't usually focus that much on the aesthetics, but something that looks better than we can achieve in Drupal as far as the Passport and the stamps and the connection. The other level that we're considering and thinking about is how to foster community around the Passport project. Because right now, if multiple people are working on the same kinds of badges or have in the past, it'd be great if you're working with each other in a way that's a little less manual than looking and saying, oh, Anna did that, maybe I can email Anna and talk to her about it. So that's something that we're working on. And as our activity, I think, Darcy, would you throw out some stamps? We just wanted to take a couple of minutes here at the end and have you write down and share what kind of stamps would you be interested in achieving? What are some topics that would be useful to you in your class right now? And I don't mean abstractly, I mean concretely within courses that you either have taught or are planning to teach. Or what would you want to show outside of just this internal community that you've achieved or that you're interested in? And so we'll take a couple of minutes to do that. We'll gather those together after I'm done here. We'll select the ones we really like and pretend we didn't see the rest. Just kidding. And we'll try to work those into the menu.
Can you scroll up to the ones you already have?
Yes.
Scroll up so we can see.
So right now we have organizing assignments and weighting grades, creating a pre-flight checklist, accessible Canvas pages, which accessibility is a big issue we need to be thinking about more, and then fundamentals of learning objectives and alignment.
Did you have a part of that website that had all the, that's the one.
Yeah, so these are the areas you can browse into and see what's available, and as these grow, of course, because everything we do is going to be available asynchronously as well.
Okay.
So you can kind of see what the destinations are, what the general topic is, and this goes back again to that Tri-Campus rubric.
Can you go back and just stay on that page? I'm sorry.
No, that's good.
And then maybe shrink it down. I just want to see what's already there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll all fit. But... Okay.
So yes, and currently this is established from the framework on the rubric. We're not adverse to different stamps, right? This is just a starting point because these are the ones that University of Washington have identified as guidelines and foundational principles for hybrid and online.
And these are the nice thing about the rubric and the drawback in some cases is that they're pretty broad categories. So it's hard to envision anything that we can't fit somewhere. But for instance, I'm really interested in creating a category for open teaching and learning because it's just a passion of mine. And so that may be something where that is a category that appears on the front page. Or based on your feedback, we may say, oh, here's an area that we want to really have focused on as one of these like major destinations. For now, we just started though with the rubric areas and the hybrid and online certification.
And also there's overlap. You'll get into one category, but you're going to end up in a different one. So that's a challenge as well.
Yes, that's a real challenge actually with the stamp system is where you put it if a stamp applies to multiple things. In the open badging and general badging, you can't do that. So we're going to have unique stamps for each opportunity. That might become a little unwieldy, as well as having mastery paths across multiple topics or multiple iterations of a topic. Because obviously a 45-minute session or a single stamp can't cover that much material.
So, I'm going to invite Rebecca up. If there's any
Thanks.
questions while Rebecca is, thank you. If there's any more questions while Rebecca's setting up, now is a great time. Yeah, Cassie.
Thanks for the presentation. This is Cassie speaking. I had two questions that are unrelated. The first one, I was very grateful to have taken the iTech Fellows training prior to the pandemic. My question is, what's the relationship to that certification and this one? So if I'm iTech certified, do I also need to become HOT certified, and how quickly?
It's the same program. It's just been renamed.
I see.
Couldn't keep the iTech name. So the certification on this campus goes forever, basically.
Okay.
So you're good. You just would not be called iTech certified, and anything we shared would be called Hybrid Online.
I see.
Teaching
Okay.
certificate.
Okay.
And
Thank
I
you.
do encourage anyone who took iTech Fellows pre-2019 to take 101. And you don't necessarily have to participate fully in the activities, but we have a lot of faculty who are doing it as a refresher. It's vastly different, so it would be of benefit.
Okay. Thank you.
We have an open version of that course as well that you can browse through.
Second question about the shared kind of tri-campus resources. So on the one hand, I feel like that's so valuable because we've had maybe underdeveloped resources for teaching on our campus. On the other hand, I feel a little bit concerned just because some of the most valuable resources that we do have, like the SEED Institute, Strengthening Educational Excellence Through Diversity, for me as an instructor have been really impactful because they are made by faculty on our campus, for faculty on our campus, and like really thinking deliberately about the needs of our students and how those needs might differ from the other campuses, but UW Seattle in particular.
Yes, so the hub is focused on digital learning and teaching. Evidence-based principles. So we are not going to lose sight of SEED or any initiatives that are local. That hopefully will eventually be promoted by a local center for faculty development here on campus. It's essentially just the shared principles and foundational values and knowledge that we want to get out to all UW faculty as the core of what we do that's going to be on this hub. So we definitely recognize, we have representation from faculty. We are, the DLA is very involved in faculty governance and reach out to every single faculty governance entity on the UW campus who has the LM Tacoma representation on those. So it's not going to take over any of our initiatives or anything we're doing here at the local level. It's just basically freeing Chris and I up from creating, toolboxes on plagiarism and toolboxes on engagement things. We're just kind of collaboratively learning from and using the teams that are available, some much larger in Seattle, UX designers, things like that we don't have that we would, we had to do all of this whole webpage ourselves, which is very time intensive. But we can say we want a webpage and put it up in Seattle, have them do it.
Yeah, pairing in the hub doesn't mean it's all collaborative necessarily. It might just be sharing the opportunity, whether the curriculum is collaborative or not. So TTFI is a good example. Anyone can participate. It's still created by one group. We share it and make sure that it works for our faculty as well.
And our voices on these committees, these advisory groups, definitely continually say Tacoma is different from Seattle. So we got that.
So thank you to the Office of Digital Learning. And next up we have Rebecca, who's going to be representing Writing Fellows.
Yes, thank you. My name is Rebecca Disrud. I'm the director of the Writing Center, which is part of the Teaching and Learning Center. It's so nice to see so many of you. I'm so happy to have the chance to talk about Writing Fellows, which is a program that I co-lead with Leanne Lux-Bachand, who is the first-year writing coordinator and associate teaching professor in writing studies. And unfortunately, Leanne could not be at this celebration of teaching because she's teaching her own classroom. But I will do my best to represent us. So what is Writing Fellows? Writing Fellows is a faculty development program on effective writing instruction, particularly within the disciplines. It is open to faculty from all schools. It is particularly geared towards faculty who are either teaching our writing intensive courses or our W courses, or who are interested in teaching a course like that or creating a course like that in their discipline. But it's also open to faculty who are just interested in teaching more writing in whatever course they teach. as part of this program, I created a curriculum that is on Canvas. And so our faculty writing fellows do some preparation on Canvas before the workshops. And then we have 4 workshops that follow this curriculum. And I'll just give you a short example of some of the things that we do in these workshops. Our first one is on decoding the disciplines. And decoding is a paradigm from the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. And the premise of it is that student challenges to writing and learning more generally often stem from their fundamental misunderstanding of disciplinary epistemology, or put another way, our core ways of doing and knowing within our own disciplines. And decoding believes that these epistemologies often become invisible to us as experts, as we develop expertise in these disciplines, they become invisible to us. And so one of the challenges in teaching is making those processes explicit or visible to students. So part of what we do is in our first session, we decode each other, so we interview each other. We try to surface bottlenecks that our students have to learning, or these learning challenges, and we talk about how we as experts would approach those same tasks. And so as part of that process, then that can lead us into designing explicit instruction for students. Another premise of decoding that I really like is that they believe that student challenges to learning are often predictable or common, and that they're not individual. And so these types of common challenges really invite instructional or curricular interventions. So that leads us into our next workshop, which is about assignment design. We talk about a lot of effective writing assignment design principles, particularly within the context of the UW-Tacoma W course guidelines, which I will talk about in a moment. Our third workshop is on feedback strategies, which is always a rich topic. Giving feedback on writing is really never easy, but it can be made easier and it can be made more efficient. And so we talk about some strategies for that. And then our last workshop is a share out informally, where writing fellows get to share how they will apply this material within their own context. And so that's always a lot of fun and very interesting. So I want to share just a couple of points of context for how Writing Fellows developed. The first one is that a few years ago, UW-T updated its W course guidelines, and I always like to take the opportunity to brag about our course guidelines. They are among the 3 campuses the most modern and aligned with best practices, and Seattle and Bothell have even looked to our W course guidelines as a model, so I'd like to put that out there. I think there's also sometimes a lack of information about what the guidelines actually are. So it used to be that I think the main guideline around teaching a W course was a page count minimum. Students had to produce a certain number of pages, and it sort of assumed that professors would be teaching a research paper in that context. And those guidelines are gone. So as part of this process, we had a committee with representatives from all 8 schools, and we interviewed faculty, 88 faculty, and what we found was that this page count minimum was really limiting the ability of faculty to assign authentic writing assignments. So things like memos or case studies or whatever it is in your discipline that students would be expected to produce as part of their college education or professionally. The new W course guidelines are very flexible and adaptable to those kinds of contexts, which I think is really great. The other thing that came out of that process and that survey was a sort of overwhelming point of consensus that faculty had a very strong desire for professional development. And so even written into the report was that a strong recommendation for institutionally supported training for faculty. So we're very pleased that that now exists. So whenever we talk about teaching, there's always impacts on students too, and I want to just highlight a couple of those. Students need 10 W credits to graduate, so 2 W courses. And the purpose of these credits is really that they will get that instruction within their own major and within their own discipline. And this aligns with what students have told us that they want. So as part of the W Course Guideline Committee, we surveyed almost 200 students, and they overwhelmingly said that they wanted instruction both in academic and professional writing. And so the best place for them to get this writing experience is within their own disciplines. When we offer more W courses within major pathways, this is also opening more pathways to graduation, which is hopefully supporting persistence in graduation. But then on the more philosophical side, which is what I like to think about, writing intensive activities have been shown to be a high impact practice, which, as many of you know, are practices that have been shown through research to support student engagement and success across contexts and across populations. And I think one of the reasons that this is that writing is so intimately connected to our core meaning-making processes. And so when we're inviting students into those core meaning-making activities in our disciplines, that's hopefully also bolstering their sense of purpose and belonging at our university, which I think is hopefully very powerful and has durable effects on our students. So what do the Writing Fellows have to say? Well, I invited many of them to be here, and they also had many teaching conflicts today, unfortunately. But here are some of the feedback that they have shared, and hopefully you can forgive me for sharing the most aggrandizing one to start with. So I will just read this for you. I found the Fellows to be the single most useful pedagogical resource I've ever engaged in. The readings were superb. I still think about many of the ideas that were brought up. It's changed how I think about teaching more generally, not just how I talk about writing, but all sorts of aspects of learning content and how that learning happens. So obviously, I'm very happy to share that feedback, but many other people talked about, effects on assignment design, curricular thinking, feedback, making sense of the field of writing studies, which is sometimes confusing and overwhelming, as one person said. So what is next for us? We have done 2 cohorts now. We are hoping to offer our 3rd one in September of next year. We will open the process for participation through nomination and self-nomination over email, hopefully in the spring. So if you are interested or would like to nominate one of your faculty colleagues, please do so. That is what I have to tell you today. Thank you.
Do folks have any questions? Well done.
This is Emma Rose, Writing Studies. Thank you, Rebecca and Leanne, for this incredible work you've done. I hate to be the more comment than a question person, but can I take advantage of the fact that Andy is here and to show how this is one intervention into the problem of we do not have enough W classes in our disciplines. So Writing Studies is continuing to provide most of the W's on this campus, which is great. We do a great job, but we're not preparing everybody for their own disciplines. So I just want to make sure that, I know many people in this room know that, but since Andy's here, I just thought I'd take the opportunity to tell you.
Thank you. Easy question to answer.
This is Cassie speaking again. I will follow up on Emma's comment. So we in Writing Studies love Rebecca's work, and I think she and Leanne have made such a powerful team. My question is, so all of the fellows who have now completed the program, is part of their completion of the program to make one of their classes a W?
So the first cohort was designed that way. The second cohort was not an explicit goal, because as part of the first cohort, we realized that curricular conversations need to be had at the level of the major, and it wasn't possible necessarily for individuals to produce that kind of outcome in all cases. And so we definitely support the idea that Writing Fellows would be getting this training, getting this information, taking that back to their colleagues and talking about where is the best place for the W for our students in our major pathway, and then potentially, making changes that way. So that is sort of what we learned after the first cohort.
So I think we need to welcome Dwayne up. Thank you so much, Rebecca. While Dwayne is getting set up, I would like to invite everybody to take multiple cupcakes. We have plenty of cupcakes, and they are meant to celebrate you and your teaching, so please, please, please. take
Actually,
cupcakes.
Rebecca, if there's a live microphone, I also had a question for you for the cohorts. So I wanted to know if the cohorts were actually limited to 8. I noticed that both cohorts were just lists of 8. Is that what it is?
That is what we had funding for. So if we had increased funding, we would have a larger cohort.
Okay, cool, excellent. Okay, that was not a setup question. I was just curious. I like numbers. All right, so my name is Dwayne Chambers. I am the associate director. I tend to move around a lot. Hopefully, I'm not going to affect our cameraman. I am the oh, that'd be much nicer. And a clicker. Oh, excellent. I've got power. I'm the associate director for the quantitative center, so the other half of the TLC, the numbers side. For my presentation, I'm going to be talking about embedded tutors, but before that, I want to introduce to you 3 of your students. These students are fictional students, but they do exist. And so what I want to do for an activity is I'd love for you to talk amongst yourselves and see what are some of the ways that you can actually think of to help Lene, Smar, and Nola. And I'll read for you. So, Lene is an international student living in Court 17, excellent on-campus housing. General chemistry feels like a new foreign language on top of learning English. It's now week 4. And after the first test, it reveals to Lene what Lene already knew, which is this class is not going well. On top of all this, although the class is interactive, Lene has not yet made class friends, and the teacher is super smart but talks English super fast. So how can we help Lene? So definitely talk amongst yourselves. Smar is a local Tacoma student. A true first-year Smar is excited to be a Husky, but to help meet tuition, Smar works 30 hours a week at Menchie's, which is an awesome place. Smar's classes are fine except physics, which meets at 8 a.m. in the morning right after graveyard shifts. There are web assignments, written assignments, labs, post-labs, pre-labs. Smar can't keep awake for lectures, and so completing assignments takes twice as long. At this rate, Smar can't fit everything in and stay above sea level. And then lastly, we have Nola, who's a returning student and is a parent of 2 and going through a divorce. Nola's days are quite fixed between childcare, job, and court-related meetings. Nola has carefully chosen only asynchronous online classes or classes that post video recordings. And if a test is in person, then Nola will take the day off from work in order to make that test. Days are full, and Nola's nights are all lecture watching, homework attempts, and Khan Academy, but still this pre-calculus class is a struggle. I want to give you 2 minutes to think about these 3 students. There's many more sketches that we could do for Tacoma students. I want to also make a plug for Tacoma. This is one of the reasons that I love UW-Tacoma. Absolutely. I've worked at other universities before. I feel like UW-Tacoma has shown me a level of diversity that I've never seen before. And our motto or principle of access has been very, I guess it's been an awesome principle. It does come with our challenges, and so brainstorm for 2 minutes, and then I'll bring us back and talk to you about the silver bullet, which is embedded tutoring. All right, I am so sorry, but your 2 minutes are over. So pencils down, your 2 minutes are absolutely over. And I will say, this is the best part of my presentation. And actually, I'm being honest. And the second thing is, when I do teach, I teach every spring calculus or pre-calculus. And I think more than the math, I enjoy my math, but more than my math, I really enjoy my students. So this is the best part of the presentation because it is not something that you have a solution for or a silver bullet for, but it's a good problem to tackle. It's a good thing to think about as instructors. So as I said before, my name is Dwayne Chambers. I'm the Associate Director on the Quant side. I'm going to talk to you about embedded tutoring, which is actually something that we do both on the Quant side and on the right-hand side of the TLC. I will define for you embedded tutoring in a couple slides, so bear with attention. And my subtitle says it's not a silver bullet, but every class should have one. So just a couple things that we've actually heard from teachers who've had embedded tutors, so quick quotes. One of our instructors said it was a great experience to have a tutor embedded in the class. He was aware of the approach and the methods that were discussed there. More importantly, the students got to know him and were able to arrange to get help when they needed. I saw that the student interactions with the tutor were very positive. Students were comfortable with him and were not hesitant to ask questions. The other instructor said, and we have a lot of these comments, but I just fit 2 in there. that I thought were visible. I have only the very best experience with the embedded tutor. This is a great idea to have a tutor who knows in detail what happened in the classroom, what are the instructor's expectations from students, who closely cooperates with the instructor what to cover during workshops. I find an embedded tutor to be of great help both for students and the instructor. I hope that the availability of an embedded tutor will become a standard in the future. Awesome plug. Now, when we think about Lene, who is an international student, Lene did have that kind of thought where the instructor is amazing. The instructor is up here. And so if I could approach the instructor, I need to be up here as well. Whereas working with an embedded tutor, which I'm about to define right now, there's something about working with somebody who's a peer that I can look at you and I can think to myself, okay, well, you did it. I could probably do it too, all right? And so an embedded tutor is an embedded tutor, so it's a tutor that's embedded in the classroom. I'm using the same word to define a word. Designed to overcome the hurdle of unfamiliarity, which is a huge hurdle for a lot of our students. Time and unfamiliarity. The tutor attends the class sessions for that particular course and interacts with the students regularly in that space. Additionally, the tutor will hold office hours for that class, hold weekly workshops, meets with the instructor regularly. We piloted this program back in fall of 2018, and since then, we've had embedded tutors in over 70 courses, closer to actually 100 courses. We've had embedded tutors in business, chemistry, mathematics, writing, history, physics, statistics. I'm probably missing a couple of the subjects. And largely, the feedback has been very positive. There's leeway with how an instructor will use or employ an embedded tutor. So during the pandemic, our instructors became very creative with breakout rooms and embedded tutors. And I'm not happy that we had a pandemic, but our pandemic did force us to actually consider how we taught and did force us to be really creative in how we try to reach students. So we've come out of the pandemic learning a couple of things or two. One of the things that we've really wanted to do for the embedded tutor program, though, is we've wanted to measure just how much does this help. So I'm on the quant side of the TLC, and so I really want numbers to give you. Like, this will improve you by 35% or, et cetera. And actually, the very first time that we actually had the program, one of our chemistry instructors, Professor Priya Aviv, she actually held, I guess, she didn't do research, but she took statistics on just how she saw in one of her Gen Chem classes versus one of her other Gen Chem classes. So one of the Gen Chem classes had an embedded tutor, the other Gen Chem class didn't. And so this is what she wrote in her feedback. By doing a simple statistics, we can see a meaningful difference between a class with an embedded tutor, ET, and without. I compared their final course grade and their ALEX assignment grade. The average final grade for the class with an embedded tutor was 89 versus without, which is 82. There's also a higher standard deviation associated with the class without the embedded tutor, which I think is not related to the embedded tutor, but the nature of the class. I had a very well-performing students and a group of not so well-performing students. The difference between classes becomes clear as we compare their ALEX assignments. ALEX is an online tool that chemistry classes employ. The ALEX assignments with embedded tutors was 88% and without was 75% with low and comparable standard deviation. Now, this is the beginning of statistics, and I write it as an attempted analysis because there's a number of other factors as to why these numbers, why they're disparate numbers. So this is nice to have as one data point, but if I have two classes and one has an embedded tutor and one doesn't, there's a number of other factors why one class could do really well and why one class might not do as well. And so nailing down just how much an embedded tutor adds to a class has actually been a difficult process. But we do want to make sure that we have embedded tutors. And one of the things, if you're a scientist, which I see that a lot of you are, it's intimidating. One of the things that you would want to do if you're trying to do this is you'd want to have a control, right? So a class that has no embedded tutor and a class that has. But doing experiments where we have like real live people, I would never want to be the control. Like, who wants to be in the control class? Like, oh yeah, sign me up for the class without help, right? No. Okay, so there's things that you want to consider as you think about how to get meaningful statistics from this program. Let me finish up though by just talking a little bit about what are we hoping in the future. So studies, experience, and qualitative feedback, I can't really say quantitative feedback as yet, evidence that embedded tutoring does improve student success. And that is what we're about. We want to help Leave, we want to help NOLA, we want to help SMART, we want to help all these students in all these different situations. We wish that we could extend the program to as many high DFW quantitative courses as possible, and also DFW writing courses as possible. Does everybody understand what DFW is when I say that? Okay, sorry. Let me make sure I get this right. So that's drop, it's a grade of D, failure, or withdrawal. And so those are courses that just, there are tough courses on campus. And so we want to extend it to as many of the DFW quantitative and writing courses as possible. Where possible, we wish to cohort tutors with certain course sequences. So we had an excellent tutor who was able to do embedded tutor for Gen Chem 1, and then she went to Gen Chem 2 the next quarter and embedded in there, and Gen Chem 3, and the students were really excited because it was somebody that they knew. Like, are you going to come to my class? Are you going to be in my class? Excellent. We're going to do this together again. Collaboration between instructors who may have embedded tutors. I have had an embedded tutor in my class, and the way that I use an embedded tutor turned out to be quite different from how Ruth used an embedded tutor. And so coming together and just talking with Ruth and kind of figuring out, like, how did you get this much out of your embedded tutor? And then while we haven't given up on trying to quantify the effect on an embedded tutor, it will just be a much longer study. And then the last thing is, I'm going to actually quote myself. I was given a talk at just a couple days on campus, and one of the things that I've observed in the TLC is that community, learning in community, working in community, it magnifies your successes. So when I get something right and I have a group of friends who can say like, yeah, we totally did this, this was so awesome, then there's 3 or 4 people cheering, right? That magnifies your achievements. And then I've had a group of students come back, I saw them studying the whole week, and they're like, oh, that was brutal. And together, all 3 of them said, you know, that was a hard test. And it's very different from when it was just you, and you think to yourself, everyone else did well in that test. But when you have a cohort, it mitigates, I'm not going to call it failure, it mitigates your setbacks, magnifies your achievements. So that's just an observation over the years. Any questions?
Hi, Dwayne. This is Yuta Heller. Thank you for that. That's just amazing, and I love your quote that you quoted yourself. I got to do that more in class. Quick question: have you, by chance, collected qualitative feedback from the students, like some comments? Can you share?
Yes.
Do you have any, just from the top of your head, comments from students?
So
to share
we
with us?
actually grabbed data from the students. We asked the instructor to just Google poll the students. And we got a lot of students who said, yes, this was very useful. We did have a number of students who said, you know, I was doing fine. I didn't need an embedded tutor. And I would say, great for you, which is fine if you don't need an embedded tutor. But we had a number of students who said, can I get one again? Like, can I get another embedded tutor for my next class in this sequence? Because I know that Physics 2 is not going to be like Physics 1. What other comments I've had? But that's been the general gist of it. And so they've formed friendships. I have had students try to contact the embedded tutor on Discord or ask for the phone number, and we've had to kind of draw that line, like, let's keep it professional. But I've been excited by that, just by the fact that they feel comfortable to say, like, let me just Discord you or, you know, contact you in some other way. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwayne. This is Jack Vincent for everybody out there. So I totally agree with you about the control issue. I always run into that every time we think about implementing a new thing in our curriculum and showing that it's effective.
Yeah.
Is the, you know, having this group that somehow is not going to be exposed to this thing that we know is going to help.
Exactly.
We know it's going to help, right?
Right.
So I agree with that, and I think qualitative, having the qualitative data is all we really need. I want this to happen in every class on the university level. What, in your mind, are the steps we need to take to make that happen? Is it staff? Is it money? Is it being imaginative? I can see, I think everybody in this room understands that teaching something makes you understand that thing better. So do we need to have options where students could maybe do this for major requirements? I just wanted to hear what your thoughts were.
I have a couple thoughts. Well, first of all, I have a story. Bear with me on time. Oh, time not looking good. Okay, we had one other situation where we tried to collect data where there was a control class and then a class with an embedded tutor. And then our data sort of got messed up a little bit because the people who were in the embedded tutor class told the control class, like, there's a tutor, he's in our class. And so they started coming, and you can't say to them, like, don't come to his workshop. So eventually we didn't use that data because eventually the secret went out, which was completely fine. What do we need in order to make this program expand? So better than data is more data, right? So as a statistician, definitely we need funding as well. Funding actually helps. It turns out that actually having an embedded tutor doesn't cost that much more than a regular tutor. So our embedded tutor picks up a couple more hours for attending the class, so we pay them for about 4 hours of classroom time. And then their office hours are open, so it meshes with their TLC hours. And then their workshops are about 1 more hour. So it's about 6 more tutor hours each week. Rebecca, do you want to help me answer the question?
More of a comment. Thank you, Dwayne.
Perfect.
Yes, I agree with that. We need more money. What we need on the writing side is also more faculty collaboration in recruiting students to serve in these roles. That is our #1 need on the writing side.
Yes. Yeah. So money, data makes just a convincing argument when you're actually trying to ask for money. So yeah.
Hi, this is Ruth Vanderpool from SAM as well. So there's a collaborative learning complication that I'm wondering, so collaborative learning is a 1-credit course that you can co-enroll with to support the existing course that it's run by a student as well. Yep. I think that it has tuition money behind it because the students are registering for a credit. So have you collected or looked at any data to see, because there are 2 parallel programs, right? They're both being run by students.
Yeah.
One's in the classroom and one's not. Do you have any data about the advantage of one program over the other? Because money is finite, and I like to put the money behind the program that has the biggest bang for the buck. And I know UTA actually collected data about that collaborative learning a long time ago, like years ago. Like I still have the surveys in my class. Anyway, do you know anything about that?
The quick answer is no, but we have actually been working with instructors about collaborative learning. So I've been on several, I guess, unofficial boards for collaborative learning. I wouldn't want to at least be on record and advance one program over another. They have strong overlap, and it turns out many times somebody who's a tutor becomes a collaborative. I do really need the person to be in the classroom though, so that's probably one of the major things. If I've never met you and somebody says, go and see Alan, he's in the TLC, there's just a little bit more of a hurdle. But the other thing though, collaborative learning gives you that 1 more credit. So if you're taking 6 credits and 5 credits and you're like, I don't want to take another 5 or 6 credits, that credit for collaborative learning is very appealing. And so I've seen, basically what I'm saying is that I've seen benefits of one program versus the other. If we could combine them in some way, that would actually at least combine the benefits in some way, that would be really awesome. Yeah.
So I am mindful of time, and I appreciate everybody staying a little bit late. Can we get a round of applause for all of our speakers? So thank you all so much for coming. In return for cupcakes, I'm hoping you can fill out that quick assessment form that we put out here. We're hoping to do events throughout the year. The next one is going to be in November, and it's going to be focusing on transfer student success. We have a number of programs across campus that are working with transfer students, and we wanted to elevate that work and let you know about it. But hopefully this gives you a little bit of a taste of some of the really cool things we've got going on campus in general and in academic success programs, just to toot our own horn. And that maybe something from this, an idea was sparked that you might want to collaborate with us or with each other from this. So hopefully you'll have a couple minutes to hang out and eat cupcakes, and maybe Andy can stay for a minute because I know he hasn't gotten to meet a lot of you. And thank you to the recordings, and we'll see you at the next one. Take care.